This is the Unredacted Files Podcast, and I'm your host, Mohammed. Today, I'd like to give a little speech before I start this damning evidence. And I want to say what's happening in this case is not about one family, one defendant, one courtroom, one judge, one prosecutor. It's not even about one county, okay? It's about whether ordinary people are allowed to question their government without being threatened or intimidated or silenced. We're here to say that the answer is yes. In the United States, the people not only can speak out, but we have a constitutional duty to do so. When a prosecutor or any government official tries to punish criticism, bury evidence, or scare families away from asking the hard questions, that's an attack on the First Amendment. It's an attack on the very idea of self-government, the right to petition for redress of grievance, to expose abuse, to demand accountability from police, from jails, from public lawyers. It's not a privilege granted by the powerful. It's a right guaranteed to every person in the United States of America. Okay, this is not a fascist state. And we refuse to live it. Okay, we refuse to live as if we're living in a fascist state. This is America. The government answers to the people. That's us. We are the people. It's not the other way around. And no prosecutor, no sheriff, no jail superintendent, no agency can take that away from us. We will continue to speak out, to document, to file complaints, to go to court, and to stand in the light, because our voices are protected by the Constitution, and we will utilize those rights to the very end. Now, in the case of Mustafa Aljazairi, the prosecutor filed multiple motions. She wants to take away Mustafa's rights to an attorney. She wants to take away his rights to a speedy trial, which they're already doing. He's been in solitary confinement for 3 years without a trial. She wants to tell the court that because the family is complaining, because the family is documenting, because the family is asking the question, why? Why is this happening with Mustafa's case? Why is Mustafa's evidence being tampered with? Why are officers falsifying warrants? Why is a judge not being impartial? I mean, these are valid questions. Anybody that lives in America knows they have a First Amendment right to ask their government, why? Why are you doing this, doing that? You work for us. We pay your salary. Okay? And when we ask the question why, you cannot attack us. Because, again, this is not a fascist state. This is the United States of America. There are rules, there are laws. This is a law and order country. And, I want to say a special thank you and my condolences to Kevin Hugart, who was the Assistant Chief of Police for Prince William County. Without him, this would not be possible. And I'm going to dive right into it. I'm looking at evidence.com. I'm looking at the evidence.com log. Now, people might say, you're no police officer. How do you access evidence.com? The question is really not why or how. The question is what. What am I looking at? I'm looking at the log of evidence.com, where Chad Mason in court on October 31st, 2024, told the public, when he was testifying, he was telling the public, this is a public trial, this is a public case. And in that courtroom, Chad Mason told the prosecutor, and while being cross-examined, He said, I did not note whether there was audio or not. I mean, that's a problem because Mustafa Aljazairi versus the Commonwealth, this is an alleged double homicide. You have a double homicide. Okay? I'm going to go through the transcript. We're all going to go through the transcript. And you're going to see that Chad Mason admits that he has no special knowledge. He's no expert when it comes to dealing with digital evidence. Yet, he remembers specifically, I reached in with my right arm and I grabbed the dash camera off the windshield. He says, I remember specifically it was my right hand. We don't know what he does with his right hand, okay? But he remembers his right hand specifically. But he doesn't remember whether there was audio or not. He says, I never took notes. I never noted it down anywhere. And then later he testifies that the prosecutor told him there was no audio. Hold on a second. We're talking about a alleged double homicide. And you want to tell me the most crucial piece of evidence in Mustafa's case was put in the hands of Chad Mason? You left it to Chad Mason to tamper with the dash cam? And, you know, we're going to go through this transcript. But according to his partner in crime, Kathy Zaimis, she says that Chad Mason didn't violate department policy by taking the SD card out of the dash camera. That's not where he violated policy. She said an officer's job who's not qualified in digital evidence, their job is to simply package the evidence and push it down to forensics. That's her. That's her job. That's her department. She's trained in that department for a reason. So that when digital evidence exists in a case, you don't have the mess that we're sitting with today. You have a man sitting in solitary confinement. He's been sitting there for 3 years. He says, I put a dash camera for my protection. And you have a officer, Chad Mason, who comes in, doesn't know shit about digital evidence, takes your dash cam, he alleges that he was downloading the files. I say otherwise. Because what is an officer that has no expertise in digital evidence? What is he doing with someone's dash camera for 3 hours? And I say 3 hours because I can prove it. I have access to evidence.com and I'm showing it to you here. You're looking at it on the screen. Chad Mason, on April 6, 2023, and we're going to look at these, okay? These are Mustafa's dashcam files. From 5:55 p.m. on April 6, you began this charade, whatever it is that you were doing here, okay? And you continued doing it. You continued doing it. You were on that dash camera. You see these files? These are the dash cam footage of Mustafa Aljazairi. And who do we have here? Chad Mason. Officer Chad Mason. So 5:55, look at that. 5:57, 5:58, 5:59, 6 o'clock, 6:01, 6:02, 6:03. Again, who do we have? Chad Mason. And what is he doing? Those are Mustafa's dashcam files. 6:03, 6:04. I mean, this guy was working. He was really working. Look at that. Chad Mason. What are we doing here? Dashcam files. 6:13. I'm going to zoom this out so people can see. Look at that. 6:17. I mean, it goes on and on and on. What a hardworking man, Chad Mason. He specifically remembers he took that dash cam out of the car with his right hand. And he's sitting there downloading one video at a time. He's playing the video, essentially. He's playing every video. Every dash cam video. 6:27. I mean, we started at 5:55. Keep going. 6 o'clock comes around. Man, this guy does not take a break. Chad, who has no experience, according to him, on the stand, he said, I have no experience. I just have the common knowledge of a common person. I have no experience in digital evidence. Yet the entire Prince William County Police Department is alleging a double homicide, and you left the most crucial piece of evidence in that guy's hands. Okay, let's keep going. 6:38, 6:39, and it keeps going and going and going. 6:51, 6:52, 6:57. Boy, he was working. Look at that. He was really working. Looking at frame by frame, file after file, video after video. 7:11, 7:12. Oh, we see a little gap. 7:13. He stopped. And he came back at 7:15. Interesting. What was going on at this time that caught his attention at 7:13 p.m.? Something stopped right there at 7:13. He had to really look at that video. Okay, because every video he's downloading multiple at a time. 7:15, he did one video, and it took him 2 minutes to move on to the next. 7:20. I mean, this guy was really into these videos. 7:43, 7:45. Chad Mason. And by the way, this keeps going and going and going and going and going. Chad Mason was really working that night. 8:35. 8:35. 3 hours. Chad Mason. For 3 hours, you sat there messing with that dash camera. Even though Chad Zaimis tells you it's not your job. Your job is to package it in a box and send it to her department. But you didn't do that. You didn't do that night. That's not what you did in the Mustafa Aljazairi case. You didn't follow protocol. You didn't follow your job duties. You didn't follow the policy and procedure that was set by the police department to ensure that when you have a case like this, 3 years into the case, you don't have a family like this one asking why. Why did you touch these files? Why are you the one to play with these files? Why are you tampering with digital evidence? I mean, I'd like to know what Chief Newsham has to say about this. You have an officer, a rogue officer, who's playing with someone's dash camera. And by the way, I remind you the seriousness of this case. This is an alleged double homicide. And you have a Chad Mason who's not qualified in digital forensics, who's not qualified in digital evidence. And we just saw for 3 hours, this officer was tampering with the files. Chad Mason, tampering with the files for 3 hours. And when you ask him, hey, do you recall whether there was audio on this alleged double homicide video? I don't remember. Did you notate it anywhere? I don't think so. I mean, I'll tell you didn't do it. I'll tell you did not note that anywhere. Because I have close to 1,000 pages of police reports. Close to 1,000 pages of police reports, and not a single page says there is no audio. Not a single page. The only time I hear the issue with the audio is in court. Why is that? 811 pages on an alleged double homicide, and nobody's talking about how there's no audio on the main piece of evidence in this entire case. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody thought to themselves, not Robert Drumm, not Chad Mason, not Rob Davis, not Rob Sermon, not Surdam, not nobody. Nobody said to themselves, gee, let me look at this dash cam footage that I obtained a warrant based on. I obtained a warrant. I took a man's freedom away based on this digital evidence that Chad Mason wants to tell us he never notated it anywhere. Never noted anywhere on any of the police report, not any investigator in this case. Nobody notated that there was no audio. Where do we hear? How did you know, prosecutor, that there was no audio? Oh, Let's take a look at the transcript and what prosecutor said to Chad Mason. Let's take a look. And by the way, I'll just say, reading this transcript, what a disgrace. Judge Weimer, what a disgrace. There's rules of conduct in a courtroom. And I can tell you that in the Mustafa Aljazairi case, it's like the rules just don't apply. Whether it's his lawyer, whether it's the prosecutor, whether it's the judge, the rules simply just don't apply. I mean, I have a transcript, okay, where, I just briefly skimmed through this transcript. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 that I just skimmed through, by the way. I just skimmed through it. I have 5 pages where the prosecutor is telling a witness that's testifying on that day, as she's cross-examining him, she says, "You just heard your fellow officer testify to X, Y, and Z." You want to tell me that's normal? You have witnesses in the case that are testifying, and they're all sitting in the courtroom, not the judge, not the prosecutor, not Mustafa's lawyer. Nobody says, we're going to require the witnesses to leave the courtroom so that you don't contaminate the testimony. Everybody knows that's been the court. Everybody knows where there are witnesses, all the witnesses leave. And they only come back in when it's time for them to testify. Okay? But not in this case. Not in this case. I find it odd that the lawyer doesn't have a problem with it because he uses that. He says, "You just heard your fellow officer testify to X, Y, and Z." The prosecutor gets up and she says, "Kathy Zaimis, you just heard to Sergeant Chad Mason testify to X, Y, and Z." I'll tell you, a sham courtroom is a sham courtroom. Okay? That's what we have, a kangaroo court. How do you expect people to take you seriously if the most basic rules you're not following? The most basic rules, okay? And by the way, this is a major flaw in this case. You have officers who are corroborating testimony in real time. In real time, you have an officer sitting there. And by the way, we're already coming in hot on this case. We're saying you falsified his statements. You falsified his case. You tampered with his evidence. We're already accusing you of that. And then you're going to allow the witnesses to all sit in the court. By the way, and if it wasn't for this transcript, nobody would believe it. Nobody would believe it. There was a lawyer that I was telling this to, and he just couldn't believe the level of incompetence. He couldn't believe it. He says, I don't get it. The defense lawyer didn't call it out. The judge didn't call it out. The prosecutor didn't call it out. That's what you call a kangaroo court. That's really what you call a kangaroo court. But this is minute compared to what's really going on in this case. I'm going to show you, before I get into the transcript, I'm going to show you a document where Robert Drumm is describing the dash camera, and he says Dorothy is screaming. You are an investigator of 20 years. 20 years. You're alleging a double homicide. And you want to tell me that you heard Dorothy scream in the dash camera, but then later you want to say in court that there's no audio? If I didn't have the report of Kathy Zaimis from Digital Forensics of Prince William County Police, where she says there is audio. Now, the real problem for Prince William County is I'm showing you what's being posted to evidence.com. And I don't see a Kathy Zaimis from Digital Forensics posting these videos. I see a Chad Mason who has no expertise according to him, has no knowledge of digital evidence and how it works. And according to Kathy Zaimis, she says he's not even equipped with the proper software on that laptop that he used. He's not equipped. And you held a man for 3 years based on the allegation that there's no audio, so we can just say whatever we want. Oh, he's arguing. How do you know he's arguing? We don't have to explain it to you. We're just going to say he was arguing. Put an arrest warrant for him. Let's just hold him in jail. And 3 years later, we find out that Kathy Zaimis never uploaded anything to evidence.com. Again, Kevin Hugart is somewhere in heaven today. My condolences to his family. I'd like to say he's an honorable man. And, that's all I'm going to say about Kevin Hugart. He's an honorable man. And thanks to him, we can definitely verify that it was, in fact, a Chad Mason who uploaded Mustafa's dashcam footage. It was not digital forensics like you normally have in a alleged double homicide. Normally, when you get digital evidence, you give the evidence to the expert so that they can examine it with their expertise. Okay? I mean, it doesn't make sense that I would like to paint this room and I'm going to call a plumber. Just doesn't make sense. I'm going to take my car to a mechanic, but instead of going to the auto shop, I'm going to take it to Home Depot. It doesn't make sense. On an alleged double homicide, and as big as Prince William County Police Department is, with as big of a budget and as many homicide detectives, as many digital forensics experts that they have, I'm actually shocked. You gave it to Chad Mason. You let Chad Mason take the most crucial piece of evidence and upload it to the server on April 6th. And since April 6th, no one has been able to check that dash camera. Not because people haven't asked, and not because people haven't tried, but because the prosecutor and the police department have blocked them every step of the way. Another major issue that I'm having with this is, according to Robert Drumm, according to his testimony on October 31st, 2024, Robert Drumm tells us that he handled Mustafa's dash camera as well. Now, Robert Drumm, how exactly did you package that dash camera, and what did you do with it when you packaged it? Let's see what Robert Drumm wants to tell us of how he packaged it. Here we go. Drumm handling the dash camera. We're going to go to page 85 of this transcript. And then I'm going to show you a photo. Because Robert Drumm wants to tell us, he wants to tell the courts on the record, he says that he put the camera in a box, taped it up, sealed it, and he physically hand-delivered it to Catherine Zaimis, who photographed it when she received it. Catherine Zaimis testified that when she receives digital evidence, the first thing to do is to open the box, the seal, and then photograph it. Now, I would like to ask, why is a piece of Mustafa's dash camera missing? And what I mean by that is, when Catherine Zaimis photographed that camera, it's missing the interior lens. Could we say that someone, between the time Robert Drumm packaged it and between the time it got to Catherine Zaimis, someone in between took the dash camera and potentially did something to it. I mean, I can say that all day, but when I show you a photo from evidence.com, when I show you a photo from the police reports, there's no question about it. Someone took this dash camera. Well, now, what did they do with it? Who knows? Really? I mean, who knows? But the camera is supposed to record audio. And today we find ourselves with videos from Chad Mason's upload where they have no audio, where he sat for 3 hours. 3 hours downloading 1-minute videos for 3 hours. And he doesn't recall whether there was audio or not. You sat there for 3 hours. Let that sink in. 3 whole hours. 60 minutes, 60 minutes, 60 minutes. 3 hours. You're watching video after video, video after video, video after video. And in your mind, you're thinking, I'm going to get this killer. I'm going to get this killer. This guy killed a woman and a child. I'm going to get him. For 3 hours, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to download every single video. You never thought to yourself, oh, hey, I'm working on a homicide. Maybe I should note the fact that there's no audio? No, he didn't do that. He didn't do that. I'd like to ask anybody that's watching this video, if you have a friend that works for the FBI, that works for the police, that's an investigator, that's whatever, someone that works in law enforcement, I would like for you to ask them, have you ever seen a case where the officer is looking at a video that is considered evidence in a murder case, and they never thought to themselves, gee, where's the audio? Maybe I should note that down, that there is no audio. And they sat there for 3 hours watching footage of an alleged crime that they allege that this is a crime. 3 hours you sit there and you never take notes. You never took notes. Not you, not Robert Drumm, not Rob Davis. None of these officers took notes. Yet they all want to tell you a woman and a child were killed that night. They want to allege a double homicide on April 5th, 2023. Yet none of them are taking notes. Not a single person took notes. Ask your friends. If you know somebody in law enforcement, ask them. Do you take notes when you're looking at evidence? Well, and we can say in the Mustafa Aljazairi case, nobody took notes, apparently. And the source of the video is being told, the person that's uploading the video, the person in possession of the video is being told by the prosecutor who's probably jerking off in her office. She picks up the phone and tells him, hey, Chad Mason, yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, there's no audio. You're going to say there's no audio on that video. All those videos, they don't have audio. That's what we're going to stick with. Okay, buddy? Click. Now, you think a Kathy Zaimis is going to come in after the fact, look at this dash cam, review the files, review the footage? You think she's going to go against her prosecutor? You think she's going to go against what Chad Mason has already set out to say? Of course not. I mean, we all know that they're going to cover each other's asses. I mean, that's a fact. But I will say about Kathy Zaimis is that in her report, she says there is audio. In her testimony, she says she heard the audio. I mean, I'm looking at 532 videos that were uploaded by Chad Mason. Now, Kathy Zaimis says, I'm probably going to misquote her here, but why would I misquote her when I could just play her video? Let's just play the video.
My name is Kathy Zaimis. I'm a detective in digital forensics on the Prince William County Police Department.
Now, what does Kathy Zaimis tell us here? Let me see. What does Kathy Zaimis tell us? There we go. Let's make this full screen so that everybody could see. She says, although the last several videos recorded on the device did not appear to have sound, the sound record feature on the device was turned on. I opened the files with VLC and the sound did not play. I then opened the last recorded file on the device with a program called Media Info, which showed that the file did have an audio track. I then opened the file with Audacity, which is a free audio editing program. The track that should have contained sound waves appeared flat. Okay? Now, my question to Prince William County Police and my question to the prosecutor is, why did Kathy Zaimis not upload the footage from the dash camera to evidence.com? She was in possession of it. She had the camera right there. I mean, she's looking at the camera. Why did she not upload the footage now that she has the appropriate technology to do so? Because we're going to look at a testimony from her where she says that Chad Mason's job is not to upload anything to evidence.com. It's not his job to upload dash cam footage. That doesn't concern him. That's not his specialty. That's not his expertise. Yet he did it anyways. And I will say, on a alleged double homicide, she said, specifically, she says, although the last several videos recorded on the device did not appear to have audio. Did not appear. The last several. I mean, we just saw evidence.com. We saw evidence.com, and I'll pull it up again. This is the log to evidence.com. Kevin Hugart. Thank you, sir. Evidence.com. You see how many videos are being uploaded. I'm scrolling away. See that? 803. We're going to scroll and scroll and scroll. 731. I mean, all these videos being uploaded by our good friend here, Chad Mason. And Kathy Zaimis says the last several videos appeared not to have audio. Well, if that's the case, why is it that when I look at evidence.com, none of the videos have audio? Why is it that when I look at evidence.com, I find that Chad Mason did not execute a warrant properly? Because the warrant that was written and it was signed for by a judge stated all videos from April 5th and April 6th. I mean, the April 6th thing is like, I'm still confused. The accident happened on April 5th at 6 p.m., 6:36 to be exact. April 5th, 6:36 p.m. Why are you writing a warrant for April 6th? I mean, you think something's going to happen the next day that you might need these files? If I didn't know any better, that sounds like a very narrow search warrant. And I wonder if you're alleging that this family, this Mustafa's family, has some kind of abuse attached to it, that there's a prior history of bad driving, there's questionable things going on with Mustafa and Dorothy. Why would you narrow the search down to April 5th and the 6th? Why not say, we have his dash camera. Let's write a warrant for all the videos. Let's write a warrant for everything on that dash cam. And I have an answer for you. The truth is, Chad Mason, in his testimony on October 31st, 2024, he says, I took the SD card and I plugged it into my laptop to check if there's any files on the SD card. What if I tell you that Chad Mason went through the footage and he found videos of Mustafa and Dorothy that are just not gonna, they're not gonna make the narrative look good. You might ask me, what could be on that dash cam that the Prince William County Police, specifically Robert Drumm and Chad Mason and Rob Davis, Sarah Sammy, what is specifically on this dash cam that they do not want on evidence.com? Well, according to Kathy Zaimis, Mustafa and Dorothy were door dashing. Now, when a couple goes to DoorDash, they're working throughout the day. They're working. What are they going to do? I think they're going to share a meal together. You know, I think there's going to be maybe some romantic moments when they're taking a break, when they're sharing a drink, sharing a cigarette, sharing something. Maybe he was kissing her. Maybe they were hugging. Maybe something in the car shows emotion between the couple. And Chad Mason can't have that, of course. Robert Drumm can't have that because they set out to write a specific type of narrative on Mustafa. And the videos are just simply, they're not helping their cause. So what are they going to do? They're going to go and write a specific search warrant for April 5th and April 6th. And by the way, I'll tell you, I was able to gain some dash cam footage from Mustafa's dash camera, unrelated to evidence.com, unrelated to the police department. I was able to get footage from April 5th that's not on evidence.com. Now, the implication here is that a Chad Mason did not execute a warrant properly. What does that mean? When you write up a warrant, let's say I'm writing a warrant for this bookshelf right here behind me. And I say, I'm here to gather these books. I get a judge to sign the warrant. I come up here to the shelf and I document how many books are on that shelf. Now, for me to go in and say, I don't like this book, I don't like that book, I'm just not gonna collect it, part of the warrant, because it doesn't fit my narrative. That's called an illegal warrant. You did not execute the warrant properly. That's an illegal warrant. It's an invalid warrant. Okay? Now, what if I tell you that the affidavit to the warrant is falsified? And people are going to say, well, hey, how do you know it's falsified? And I'll tell you, because I have evidence. I have evidence that the warrant that was written for Mustafa's dash camera, it's invalid because the affidavit attached to that warrant is falsified. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove it to you. We're going to go into I think I sent it to you. Let me see. Here we go. All right. We're looking at a document where Robert Drumm is writing up his narrative from the day of the accident. And I'm gonna read it to you. Let's make sure it's large and clear. I responded to the crash site on Dumfries Road on let's go from the beginning. On April 5th, 2023. I responded to the crash site on Dumfries Road, southbound near the Fortuna Center Plaza intersection. Upon my arrival, numerous fire department apparatus were blocking the roadway and providing aid to multiple patients. 2 vehicles were involved in the collision, one a black Chevy Suburban and the other a Chrysler 300. The initial crash investigation revealed the Chrysler 300 crossed into oncoming traffic and had subsequently been struck by the Chevy Suburban. I was advised of an adult female who had been transported to Sentara Hospital had been pronounced shortly after the crash. I was notified of a small female child who was in the rear seat had been transported to Fairfax Hospital with CPR in progress. She was pronounced the following day, April 6, 2023. So we know, at this point, we know that this narrative was written after the fact. This was written, I would say at least after the 6th, because he's talking about April 6th. The male driver, Mustafa Aljazairi, this is the important part, who can be seen standing outside the Chrysler upon patrol's arrival, was flown to Fairfax Inova Hospital and survived. Did you hear what he said? The male driver, Mustafa Aljazairi, who had been seen standing outside the Chrysler upon patrol's arrival, was flown to Fairfax Hospital and survived. The driver of the Chevy Suburban was taken to Sentara Hospital for her injuries and survived. Investigators were unable to locate any evasive braking or skid marks related to the Chrysler 300 prior to impact. That's a lie. We're going to prove it later. A brief skid mark trail was located for the Chevy Suburban and documented. Now, that's a lot of information that he just told us. He says he did not see any braking or skid marks related to the Chrysler 300. That's what he says. And then he says he observed skid marks for the Chevy Suburban. Now, when we look at the data recorder, we find that the Chevy Suburban never hit the brake. That the Chevy Suburban was actually on cruise control. That the Chevy Suburban was going 13 miles an hour over the speed limit. 13 miles an hour over the speed limit. Active cruise control and never hit the brake. Three main things. And they hid the fourth one, which is that her steering angle was turned right. Right into Mustafa's car. Now, we look at the data recorder from Mustafa's vehicle. Mustafa's speed went from 53 to 37 in the matter of 2 seconds. I would say that's pretty quick braking. I don't know how fast you want the car to stop, but in 2 seconds to go down close to 20 miles an hour, that's a major slowdown. Okay? Mustafa's foot is on the brake the entire time, according to the data recorder. Mustafa is avoiding vehicles in the first lane. He's avoiding vehicles in the second lane. He avoided vehicles in the third lane. And he avoided vehicles in the fourth lane. His vehicle was struck past the Suburban. And you can clearly see that from not just the video, but from the data recorder itself. We see that Mustafa's steering wheel at the moment of impact was counterclockwise, away from the cars. Now, if somebody is planning on just crashing their car, why would they not hit the first car? Why would they not hit the second car? Why would they not hit the third car? The fact that his car was hit in that fourth lane tells you that it's an accident. Clearly, it's an accident. But, the problem here is you have an officer who's actively falsifying information. He's actively falsifying information. The data recorder doesn't lie. Robert Drumm wants to tell us that he saw skid marks from the Chevy Suburban. According to the data, she never hit the brake. So where could these skid marks possibly come from? Where? I'd like to know. How can a car produce skid marks if it never hit the brake? How? Okay. Now, let's continue. He says, let's see, what does he say? A brief skid mark trail was located for the Chevy Suburban and documented. I say bullshit. Okay? Bullshit. Because she never hit the brake. It's in the data recorder. Actually, her cruise control was turned on, which means she was on the accelerator pedal as Mustafa's car is crossing her path. She was not paying attention. Let's be real. I observed the dash camera attached to the interior roof window area of the Chrysler. The power cord appeared to be severed from the collision. It was unknown if the dash camera contained any data. Numerous items were removed from the vehicle to keep them from blowing away during the tow to the impound yard. These items recovered were paperwork, suspected narcotics, cell phones, currency, medicine, a purse, a day pack, and a set of keys. Sir, now you remember, he doesn't say that there was flowers, even though clearly everybody could see that there was flowers on the scene. Not only that, but the flower issue is a whole issue in of itself, because according to the police reports, they actually wanted to release the flowers to one of Dorothy's family members. And the problem with that is you have an alleged homicide where the guy is telling you, I'm giving her a ride to the cemetery. Here are the flowers. And the police want to get rid of the flowers as soon as they can. I mean, we're reading his narrative. Nowhere in there does it say anything about flowers, when clearly the first thing you see when you go up to that site are the flowers on the ground. Okay? Now, let's go back. Search warrants for both the Chrysler 300 and the dash camera were approved and executed illegally, improperly, I would say. While reviewing the dash camera, the video system itself pointed both inward towards the occupants and outwards towards traffic. Two videos, which were the last two videos recorded, show all three occupants, Dorothy, Mustafa, and Empress, traveling northbound on Dumfries Road in the Chrysler 300, owned and registered to Mustafa's mother. The video shows Empress in the rear seat with a lap belt on only. The shoulder belt was placed behind her torso. We'll go back to the belt issue. The video also shows both Dorothy and Mustafa having some type of disagreement where Dorothy appears to cry. I mean, what a load of bullshit. You know, saying that, and then sealing off the dash camera, I would say, what a load of bullshit. Because today, thanks to Kevin Hugart. Thank you, Kevin. You did an outstanding job. Today we have the dash cam footage, and we can verify that Dorothy was not crying. Dorothy was not crying, clearly. I mean, when you put a statement like that Dorothy was crying, that there was a disagreement, that they were arguing, you can clearly see in the video they were sharing a cigarette, and the way they passed the cigarette back and forth, the way she's feeling his fingers, the way she's giving him directions, the way he's giving Empress candy, the little girl, the way he's washing her hands, moments, I would say 5 minutes before the accident, the way he's filling up gas in his car, the way he's washing his car. You left all these details out, and you had to just make up something about Dorothy crying? Let's continue. When the vehicle approaches the dedicated left-hand turn lane of northbound Dumfries Road to make a U-turn back onto southbound Dumfries Road, Mustafa looks to his left, turns the steering wheel to the left, and enters oncoming traffic of southbound Dumfries Road. I mean, if I'm driving, picture this. I'm driving, and I'm about to kill everybody in the car, including myself. Okay? I'm going to turn into the left-hand turn lane. But wait, before I take the left-hand turn lane, let me check my blind spot to make sure there's no car. Let me make sure I don't hit a car in the turn lane before I take the lane over. I mean, you just said it yourself. Mustafa looks to his left, and you allege he's turning the steering wheel into the left-hand turn lane. He's going into the U-turn only lane. Why would you look left? I mean, if you're gonna drive your car into another car, you're not wearing a seatbelt. You're alleging he's gonna kill himself. He's gonna kill the whole family. After filling up gas, after buying Empress candy, after washing his car, after buying a pack of cigarettes, after all that, he's going to all of a sudden just say, oh, the hell with it. I'm just going to drive into oncoming traffic. But wait. Let me check my blind spot to make sure I don't hit a car when I'm turning into the lane over right before the accident. Right before I kill everybody, let me make sure I don't hit the car next to me. Let me be gentle. Let me turn on my signal and make sure I follow the law as I'm going into the left-hand turn lane so I can drive into oncoming traffic. And by the way, let me make sure I follow the speed limit. I'm not going to floor the accelerator. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to drive the speed limit. I'm going to click my signal. I'm going to look left, make sure my blind spot's clear. I'm going to take the left-hand turn lane. And then I'm going to drive into oncoming traffic. But wait. I'm not going to hit the first car. I'm not going to hit the second car. I'm not going to hit the third. I'm not going to hit the easiest car. I want to make this really difficult. Come on now. Like, let's be real. Cut the bullshit. Cut the crap. Cut the crap. Okay? What a load of bullshit. The Chrysler 300 appears to aim straight towards the Chevy Suburban. Then the video cuts off. The interior video shows Mustafa sticks his tongue out into the interior video shows Mustafa sticks his tongue out into this cheek before the collision as Dorothy began screaming and bracing for impact. Here's the key word that I'm looking for. Robert Drumm says, I'm going to read it again. I'm going to put it on the screen this time. If you're following, that's the first paragraph on screen. The interior video shows Mustafa stick his tongue out into this cheek before the collision as Dorothy began screaming. Now, Robert Drumm, you want to tell us that you are a investigator of 20 years. You've got a lot of experience under your belt. Explain to me how you heard Dorothy screaming when 3 years later, everybody's telling us there's no audio. How did you hear Dorothy screaming? I mean, we know your buddy Chad Mason. His right hand is key. He loves his right hand. He specifically remembers he grabbed the camera with his right hand, but he doesn't remember noting that there's no audio. Yet you're telling us you're watching the dash cam video and you heard Dorothy scream. Therefore, we can conclude that you have the audio to this dash camera. That's my line. That's my point that I'm trying to make. You have the audio to this dash camera. You have it. But the way Chad Mason uploaded it to evidence.com made it look like there's no audio. And that's why I'm looking through evidence.com as everybody could see. Everybody could clearly see. I'm on evidence.com. Okay? These are Mustafa's videos. Chad Mason uploaded it April 6, 8/28, 8/27. He uploaded the videos, and I don't hear a single video with an audio. Not a single one. Not a single one. No audio on evidence.com. But Robert Drumm heard Dorothy scream. Robert Drumm specifically says he heard Dorothy scream. Let's put that up. What does he say? Dorothy began screaming. What does Drumm know that we all don't know? What does Drumm know that we just all can't get? None of us can get it. What do you know, Drumm? What do you know about this dash camera that we just don't get, that we don't know? What is it? Something you're not telling us? Something you didn't document? But we caught you. That's your narrative. This is your narrative. Now, what else do you say, Drumm? Okay, so here he says, the Chrysler 300 appears to aim straight towards the Chevy Suburban. Then the video cuts off. The interior video shows Mustafa stick his tongue out into this cheek. I mean, learn how to speak English. 20 years in the police department. You can't even write basic English. Mustafa stick his tongue out into this cheek. Not his cheek, this cheek. What cheek? That cheek. Not his cheek, that cheek. Come on. He was thinking about cheeks while Chad Mason was thinking about his right hand. Clearly, something's going on at this police department. It's unknown at this time if the act was intentional or Mustafa's attempts to possibly pass a vehicle failed and he was attempting to avoid a collision. But nothing from the video showed Mustafa's body language attempting to take evasive action, brake hard, or swerve out of the way of oncoming traffic. I mean, that's a very loaded statement. He says, Mustafa's body language, the tongue in that cheek, not good enough for him. That's not a good enough reaction. Drumm says, Mustafa sticking his tongue into this cheek is not good enough. He did not take evasive action. Not hitting the car in the first lane, not good enough. Being able to avoid the second lane, not good enough. Avoiding the third lane, still not good enough. Having your foot on the brake the entire time, not good enough for Drumm. Accelerator pedal showing 0%. No gas was used. It was all on the brake. Not good enough. It's just not good enough for Drumm. It's just not good enough for him. Because Mustafa, it's not good enough, man. Mustafa's just not. Whatever Mustafa does that day was never going to be good enough for him. Nothing Mustafa could have done would have ever satisfied Drumm's mind, his thoughts about Mustafa. Nothing would have satisfied him. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder why nothing Mustafa could have done could have satisfied Drumm that this was a car accident. Absolutely nothing. Could it possibly have something to do with Mustafa suing the police? Is it possible? Is it possible that Robert Drumm and Rob Davis had a conversation about Mustafa while he was on the ground being treated by paramedics? Is it possible that Rob Davis... Is it? Who knows? We'll get to it. We'll get to the bottom of it, because we have a body cam where Rob Davis, he looks like a pig, by the way. He looks like one of those like Porky Pigs. If you ever seen the grocery store Piggly Wiggly, he looks like the Piggly Wiggly symbol, but in uniform. He's fat, chubby, out of shape. He really looks like a clown. You know when a clown puts like all that makeup with the happy eye? That's what he looks like, Rob Davis. And he says, oh, I remember. Yeah, I remember. We were briefed about this cat. Oh, let me mute. Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me not get too excited here. I don't want to get too excited. That's who you have on scene. Rob Davis. Rob Sermon. That's who I'm referring to. I'm referring to Rob Sermon. That's the clown. Rob Davis is the other clown. But Rob Sermon is the one. Oh, Robbie boy. I'd like to see what Rob. I'd like to see what Rob was saying. Rob Sermon, what he was saying on the scene to all the fellow officers responding to an accident where a man just lost his family. What were they talking about? I wonder, were they saying like, oh my God, poor guy, what the hell are we going to do? How are we going to break the news to him? No, that's not what they were saying. Let's hear what they were saying.
I talked to Grantham on the other one, and he said that it looked like, so we're good,
Sorry,
everything's,
we'll call you next time.
Hey, can I be honest with you? I don't even know that cat. I do now, I remember it now that it was brought up.
He remembers now. He remembers who this person is. Oh, now he remembers that he was brought up. He was brought up. That's what you're talking about. You're not talking about, oh my God, a tragic accident. Holy shit. The guy just lost his girlfriend. What the hell? How are we going to break the news to him? No, that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about the guy that sued the police. Oh, that's who it is. Holy shit. What the hell? Oh, he's in a coma? Great. He's in a coma. Wow. Oh, his dash cam's here? Great. Chad Mason, right arm. Come on, right hand, right there. Grab it. Let's sit on it for 3 hours. Let's sit on that dash cam for 3 hours. Well, I think this is I really wanted to get into this transcript. I'm just gonna do. I'm debating. You know what? What the hell? Let me go over it. This is what Drumm said in court about how he handled Mustafa's dash camera after taking it out of evidence. He says, I opened it up. He's talking about a box. Okay, so let's go from the beginning. What did you do with it at that point? That's what Blake Weiner is asking Robert Drumm. He says, the box came to me. The box came to Drumm. Okay, I don't know how to describe it, but you fold a box, you know, it's got like one side, two sides, 3, 4. Put the camera in it, close it. Can't describe it. He's having a hard time. So it's closed. I opened it up, folded it, put the two halves on top of each other so I could seal it up with tape. What is he referring to, the two halves? He's talking about Mustafa's dash camera. Because Mustafa's dash camera is a 2-piece unit. One unit is the hardware with the main lens that goes out the windshield. And the other piece is the interior lens. And that clips into the camera. It's 2 pieces that clip into each other. And he's referring to it here where he says, I put the two halves on top of each other. So he put the camera and the other camera one on top of the other. So I could seal it up with tape. I sealed it up with tape, labeled it, and put it in an evidence locker. Blake says, and did you drop it or toss it at any point while you were doing that? I think this is the prosecutor question. He says, no, ma'am. Did you remove the SD card? No, ma'am. Now, after Investigator Mason uploaded videos to evidence.com from the day of the crash, were you able to view them? He says, yes, ma'am. He was able to view it. At any point, did you hear any sound or audio coming from any of the videos on April 5th? You know, the funny thing here is the prosecutor is asking him specifically about videos on evidence.com. She doesn't tell him, you had the dash camera just now. You plugged it in. She doesn't say, did you see the video of the camera you just had? No, that's not what she's asking him. She's asking him specifically, you saw the videos from Chad Mason with his right hand. You saw the videos that he uploaded. Did you hear any sound? No, I didn't hear any sound. Well, I didn't hear any sound either. None of the videos from Chad Mason have sound. But according to Zaimis, they do have audio. But the police department never uploaded it to evidence.com. They stuck with Chad Mason's upload. Okay? They stuck with those uploads. And there's a reason why. There's a reason why. And there's a reason why the prosecutor is asking him specifically. She's not saying in general, did you hear audio from Mustafa's dash cam? That's not what she's asking him. Think about the question so that he doesn't perjure himself. She says, now, after Investigator Mason uploaded videos to evidence.com from the day of the crash, were you able to view them? She's talking specifically about Chad Mason's uploads. And he says, yes, ma'am. At any point, did you hear sound? Of course not. Chad Mason put him up there without sound. Or so he thought. He says, no, ma'am. And just to specify, was this both street view footage as well as in-cabin footage of the car? He says, correct. And did there come a time that you sent item 22? Remember this item 22, the dash camera to digital forensics unit. Did you send it to the digital forensics unit? I'm going to show you what this dash camera looks like so that we can all visualize what I'm talking about, because I know what the dash camera looks like. Matter of fact, I went out and purchased one. The same exact model, same make, same year from the internet. This is the dash camera. It's 2 pieces. And what I was referring to earlier when Drumm says he put one on top of the other, item 22. He put it in a box. He sealed it. And now she's asking him about, what did you do with this box? Where did it go next? And what does Robert Drumm say? Let's see what he says. He says, the question is, and did there come a time that you sent item 22, the dash camera, to digital forensics unit? He says, I did. Did you physically take it there? Yes, ma'am. Who did you hand it to? Miss Zaimis, our computer analyst. The question next is, during that transport, did you manipulate, alter, drop, toss the dash camera? No, ma'am. Sarah Sammy says, court's indulgence. Those are all the questions I have. And Blake Weiner is going to get up and cross-examine. Okay. Here's what's bothering me. Okay? And this should bother anybody. Anybody that looks onto this case should be not only bothered, you should be extremely troubled. And for Prince William County, you ought to be ashamed. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. I'm going to show you from your own discovery report. Okay? And you can verify it's 708 pages at the time. I'm going to zoom in on this. This is digital forensics. This is Mustafa's case. Rexing V5. We have a Kathy Zaimis. Okay? April 24th. Where Robert Drumm says he gave it to Zaimis on the 21st. That's what he says. He gave it to her on the 21st. Okay. Now, Kathy Zaimis will tell you, my policy police policy. When I receive a digital item, what am I going to do first when I open the box? I'm going to photograph it. What did she photograph? Let's go to the next page. What did Kathy Zaimis photograph? And by the way, these are all the photos from that portion of Kathy Zaimis. Kathy Zaimis, what did you photograph for us? Oh, there we go. Mustafa's dash camera and the SD card and the box that it came with. Now, people watching, can you find the missing item in the photo? What is this photo missing? I mean, I just showed you what the dash cam looks like. We just heard testimony from Robert Drumm, how he said he put one piece on top of the other and he put it in the box. He sealed it and gave it to Kathy Zaimis. Kathy Zaimis opens up the box. And what do we know? Oh, a piece of the camera is missing. The interior lens is missing. The lens that attaches to the camera is missing. I'm going to show you what it should look like. This is what it looks like. You have a camera and you have the attachment piece for the interior lens. I mean, we have a major problem here. We have a giant problem here. We have a very big problem. A very, very big problem, because I'm looking at digital forensics. I'm looking at Robert Drumm. And I really, really want to believe you, Drumm. You know when you're telling your mom something and you're trying to tell her something. She knows what you did and you're in trouble and you're trying to justify it to her, but your mom, she knows what you did. This, like, we're in that situation right now. Because according to your testimony, sir, you put Mustafa's dash cam and you put the other piece on top of it. You put it in the box, you sealed it up, and then you physically hand delivered it to Kathy Zaimis. According to you, you physically delivered it to Kathy Zaimis. Kathy Zaimis opens up her present and it's missing. Now, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about, I don't know, something so minute, something so tiny like, oh, it's missing, we'll just print out another copy. We're talking about the fucking dash cam, the main piece of evidence that you allege has no audio, that you allege Mustafa was arguing. You allege this is a double homicide. And you want to tell me you lost the main piece of evidence in this case? Or it was tampered with? Or someone took it without your knowledge? Someone is messing around with Mustafa's dash cam between the time you checked it out from the evidence locker to the time it got to digital forensics? Someone in between fucked around with it? Possibly with their right hand. Who likes to use their right hand the most? Oh, Chad Mason. He loves his right hand. Now, is it possible that when Robert Drumm checked out the dash camera, because according to Robert Drumm, he says they were two pieces and he put one on top of the other. So we know he had the full dash camera, the main camera and the interior portion of the camera, the interior lens, the one we just saw of what it should look like. This is what it looks like. It's the main body with the lens, and then it has an attachment for the interior lens. I mean, that's the other half of the fucking camera. And you want to tell me what happened? You did what? Kathy Zaimis got only half of it? Kathy Zaimis only got half of Mustafa's dash camera? There's one. That's the box. Okay. Okay, good. He put the date. What did he put? April 6, 2023. Okay. There's a piece of label on it with the case number. Good job. Okay. Okay, that's the other side of the main camera. That's what we just like. That's the other side of that. There's the SD card. Where's the other fucking part of the camera? Where's the other piece of the camera? Where is it? You lost it? Someone took it? Are you telling me that someone could have taken this dash camera, tampered with it before it got to digital forensics? That's what you're telling me? That is what you're telling me. He's telling us that after he packaged it, he put it on the table, and he says, oh, hey, Mason, I'm going to go to lunch. Make sure nobody touches this box. I'll be right back. And he probably left for a few hours. And Chad Mason's like, I love my right hand. Going to put it in that box. And I'm going to do what I do best with digital forensics, which is fucking, I don't know, because I'm not an expert. So there we go. I mean, look, at some point, the jokes aside, okay, I mean, I'm looking at Rexing, Zaimis, I'm looking at this. Where is the other piece? Where is it? Like, it's pissing me off. Where is the other piece? Where is the other piece of the camera? An alleged double homicide. Allegedly, double homicide. You know how big that is? Double homicide? That's freaking life. That's double life. That's triple life. And you lost the fucking evidence? You lost it? From the time you packaged it to the time it got to Zaimis, who the fuck had their hands in the cookie jar? Who is it? And how is it possible that someone could go into this box and just openly take a piece of the fucking camera? How? I want to know. How did you do that? How do you fuck this up so bad? How do you fuck up this bad? I mean, no wonder why there's a fucking seal on this case. No, you wonder, like, I'm lost for words. You guys are so fucking stupid. You're so fucking stupid. That's how dumb you are. You want to charge a man with a double homicide, yet the primary investigator is going to call his wife on three-way while he's conducting a double homicide interview. For anybody listening, if you know someone in law enforcement, maybe your neighbor, maybe a friend of a friend of a friend, just ask them. Ask them. Have you ever worked on a homicide and in the process of interviewing the primary suspect's witnesses, you say, oh, let me see. I'm going to call my wife on three-way. Honey, don't say a single word because I'm about to interview witnesses in a double homicide. Just stay on mute. What the fuck is going on at Prince William County? What is going on? And you have internal affairs? What the hell is internal affairs doing? You got an officer, a Robert Drumm. Oh, it just turned off. What happened? Are we still on? Oh, yeah, we're still on. Look, you have an officer, Robert Drumm, with his wife on three-way with falsified witnesses. I was leading up to a point with this whole falsified warrant thing, and I kind of lost track, but I'm going to go back to it because I have to wrap this up. Okay? And when I say you have an officer who falsified a warrant, I mean, that's not a light thing to talk about. An officer falsifying a warrant. I just read to you earlier Drumm's narrative on how when he arrived, he saw one victim going to the hospital where she was later, the same day was announced that she was deceased. He saw a child get transported to a hospital with CPR in progress. He saw Mustafa, the driver of the Chrysler, who was flown to Fairfax Hospital. Okay, that's what he says. When he arrived, Dorothy was at the hospital where she was pronounced. Empress was a CPR in progress, and Mustafa was standing by the vehicle and transported to Inova Hospital through a helicopter. That's what he says. Now, what did Robert Drumm swear to in his affidavit to a magistrate judge to issue the warrant? Let's have a look. I mean, you think it's going to be something truthful? Let's read it together and find out what Robert Drumm said after I just read to you the narrative that he wrote. His narrative says Dorothy was transported to the hospital. She was announced deceased, pronounced. Empress was a CPR in progress, and Mustafa, who was by his vehicle, was transported via helicopter to Inova Hospital. What did he say? What did he put his right hand up and swear to take Mustafa's freedom away? What did he say? Let's have a look. On April 5th, 2023, I responded to the area of Dumfries Road and Fortuna Center Plaza for a crash. Once on scene, the driver of a black four-door sedan was being removed from the driver's seat. Line number 1. I spoke to this driver, Mr. Mustafa Aljazairi, was not aware of his surrounding and seemed to be in a daze. I'm going to stop right here. Because that is the lie. He says, I spoke to this driver, Mr. Mustafa Aljazairi, and I'll tell you, Robert Drumm, if it wasn't for these body cams, if it wasn't for these reports, if it wasn't for us doing the hard work of cross-referencing your reports, every time you say something here, we cross-reference it here. You stated in this warrant, by the way, when I put this up on the screen, I mean, you are literally looking at a sworn affidavit. The material facts constituting probable cause that the search should be made are. And Robert Drumm just lies. He just lies. At the bottom, what does it say? The statements above are true and accurate to the best of my knowledge and belief. Investigator Robert Drumm, badge number 1790, subscribed and sworn to before me this day. So you swore an oath. You swore an oath to a magistrate judge. You swore, Your Honor, here are the facts. I arrived on scene. This was happening. That was happening. But I spoke to the driver. I spoke to Mustafa. I spoke to the driver personally. I spoke to this driver. He was not aware of his surrounding and seemed in a daze and slightly removed from the world, consistent with a person whom is under the influence of a drug. During the investigation, it was learned the vehicle was traveling west on Dumfries Road, blah, 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 blah. But you claim to this judge, you swore an oath and said to this magistrate judge, Your Honor, here are the facts. I need your signature to take that man's freedom away. And what I'm telling you under oath because I'm swearing that this information is true. It was a lie. Newsflash, it was a lie. You said, and I'll show you where you said it, buddy. You said that when you got on the scene, Mustafa was being transported via helicopter. When you arrived on scene, Mustafa was being transported to the hospital through the helicopter. You fucking lied. That's an invalid warrant. You cannot use whatever you obtained through that warrant. It's invalid. And you should be going to jail. You know, I question sometimes, where the fuck is internal affairs on all this misconduct? You lose half the dash camera. You got a Chad Mason playing with digital evidence and he's not qualified to do it. According to his own testimony, He says, I am not qualified to deal with digital evidence. Yet here I am sitting in my fucking car on an alleged double homicide, and I'm going to take the main piece of evidence and I'm going to fuck around with it for 3 hours. 3 hours, unsupervised, with Chad Mason. You know, I would like to say, honestly, I'd like the internal reports on these officers. I'd like to see what other misconduct, because if you fuck up here this bad, you must have fucked up somewhere else. I'd like to see what your internal, I'd like to see your disciplinary report. Oh, wait, the prosecutor sealed it. The judge sealed it. Interesting. So when you question, has this officer done something questionable in the past? The judge says, no, nobody's going to see that. That's limited access. You can't get that information. I'm not going to allow Mustafa's lawyer to see whether Officer Chad Mason with his right hand have fucked around in the past. I'm not going to let that. Not going to let them see that. Not allowed. I mean, I just showed you Robert Drumm flat out lied under oath. I just showed you Robert Drumm is tampering with the dash camera. He alleges that no one touched the dash cam between the time he put it on top of each other, taped it up, and gave it to Zaimis. And then Zaimis opens up the box. Oh, it's missing. So, care to explain? Where is the rest of Mustafa's dash camera? Look, if you got anything from this podcast, it is, if you commit a crime and you wear a badge, we will expose you. We will definitely expose you. And we have every fucking right to do it. We have a First Amendment. This is a case that's been ongoing for 3 years. And if you think for a second that you filing a sequestering of the jury, you're making up these allegations that we're threatening, we're this, it's our civic duty to put you under fire. It's our duty as citizens of this country to fry the shit out of you. I mean, we're going to fry the shit out of you. Okay. If you lie in this case, we're going to call you out. You lose the main piece of evidence in this case, we're going to call you out. You lie to a magistrate and you apply for a falsified warrant, we're going to call you out. Okay. And we're not just calling you out. We're demanding accountability. Okay. I mean, I specifically spoke to 2 FBI agents, okay, that came here to my house and spoke to me face to face. And they told me that if there is misconduct, if there is abuse of power, we're going to catch it. And I'm here to tell you, I'm still waiting for you. I have hope in you. I have high hopes in you. But I mean, you got to give me some credit here. I'm doing a lot of legwork here for you. Okay? I'm doing a lot of work for you here because I'm literally feeding you the information. I'm feeding you the case. I've talked to district attorneys. You know, our former district attorney, Jessica Aber. I sat down with her chief of staff. For 2 hours, I sat down with her. Okay? And they were taking notes. I saw the notes. They had a notepad just like mine. Sat there 2 hours. They took a lot of notes, and I gave them a lot of links. A lot of links, including evidence.com. I mean, to be honest with you, I think they were kind of proud of me that I had access to evidence.com. They were very proud. They were like, oh, how did you pull this one? I said, hey, maybe someday we can talk about it. Someday in heaven with Mr. Hugart. You can tell us all about it. But in all seriousness, you know, we are demanding accountability. We are demanding. We're not asking anymore because, you know, asking is when you don't have something and you're asking for them to do their job. No. We're past that. We are on This is a whole different type of relationship now. Okay? Because I'm coming up to you here with receipts. I'm not asking anymore. Okay? I'm not asking. And if you think that we're just gonna, we'll just let it slide, think again. Think again. I was trespassed from the courthouse based on false information by the prosecutor. You know what I did? I could have went out. I mean, I did go out. I contacted a lot of lawyers, and they all wanted money. They all wanted a lot of money. And some of them said, I don't even think this is a winning case, buddy. I mean, you got trespassed. It's hard to prove this. It's hard to prove that. It's going to cost you a lot of research, a lot of money. You know what I did? I did the unthinkable. I did my own research and I filed my own case. And guess what? I'm back in the courthouse. They removed my trespass. Now I get to come in and take more notes. Take more notes so that I can expose. I'm going to make sure the camera's on. So I can expose you.